From the short grass plains of the Serengeti to the floodplains of Mana Pools, these are the stories from the wild. Hi everybody, welcome back to Above Africa Stories from the Wild. We are back and this is the second episode that we're recording after a long pause. But I'm super excited about today because today I'm talking about a destination that I went to in February of this year. So I did a photographic safari which I co-hosted with Marius du Toit in Ndutu and the Serengeti. And in this episode, let's call this part one, we're going to chat about Ndutu. Now, there's a big story behind our trip to Ndutu because myself and Marlon took about 38 hours to get there, and it was to no one's, well, not our fault, but logistics sometimes with traveling does happen. But it was a funny story, and I will let you all in on that, and then we'll go into Ndutu. And then in part two, which would be a separate episode, I will go into our Serengeti experience, where we actually went to Namiri Plains, which from a wildlife photographic perspective is probably one of the coolest places I've been in a very, very long time. And it is really, really special. The photographs you get with those lines on the rocks are just out of this world. However, today we are talking about Ndutu. Okay, so Ndutu. Now, Ndutu sits in the Ngorongoro Conservation Area, and a lot of the time it gets a bit scrutinized about how busy it is, and we specifically went in February, which forms part of the migration route where the wildebeest actually calve. So it's the calving season. And during the calving season, there are 8,000 wildebeest calves being born every single day. Now, it's difficult to put this into perspective because the amount of animals you see is ridiculous. And it is very difficult to put it into perspective. However, the calving season as a photographer, you go because naturally with so many animals around, you will have a lot of predators. And that is why we go. We go to photograph the predators that is just within this massive herd of wildebeest giving birth. And we were incredibly fortunate in the time that we got there. But before we got there, let me just quickly tell you the story of how myself and Marlon actually got to Ndutu. It was crazy. So we arrived at OR Tambo in Joburg, and when I got there, I saw Marlon at the information desk, and I immediately knew something was wrong with the flight. And our flight was delayed, which ended up being cancelled, and then we had to move to another flight a little bit later so that we can still connect on the flight where our guests were going to be on their way to Ndutu. And then that flight got cancelled as well. So now our guests were on our way to the camp. They arrived there. We were still figuring out how we even going to get out of the country. We eventually got onto a flight at I can't remember, 9, 10 o'clock at night on Ethiopian Airways, flying to Addis Ababa, which is north of where we were supposed to be. And then the next morning, a flight back to Tanzania. Anyway, we eventually got there. But when we landed in Kili, we still had a 7-hour drive to Ndutu, which is not the way we do it. We usually fly into Ndutu, and then it's a quick 20-minute drive to the camp. But unfortunately, because of logistics, we had this adventure, which it ended up being. So we were driving from Kili to, we had to go through the Ngorongoro crater, and we needed to be there by 6 o'clock because the gates closed at 6. And we needed to be there. But it was bucketing down with rain. All the way from Kilimanjaro Airport, all the way to the Ngorongoro Crater gate. And we got there 5 minutes to 6. And we managed to get into the reserve, but we still had 2.5 hours to get to Ndutu. You kind of drive on the edge of the crater, drive. But the cool thing was, as we drove through the crater, we saw a female leopard. And strangely enough, we literally had a conversation about leopards on that road, not 30 seconds before that leopard walked into the road. Sometimes these things happen with us. I don't know why, but it happens a lot. I guess manifesting what's going to happen. And then we were driving into the night over the crater wall, down into Ndutu. And as we got into the Ndutu area, we stopped at this river. And the guy that was driving us looked at this river and he's like, no, 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 this we can't go through this river. It's too high because it is wet during that time of the year. It's the rainy season. That's why the wildebeest go to the short grass plains of the Serengeti for food. And um, the wildebeest females obviously have got a sufficient amount of food to generate enough milk, and there's a lot of phosphorus and calcium in the soil, which creates phosphorus for good bone growth for the calves, and obviously calcium for the milk. Anyway, um, so we're standing in front of this river, and I look at Marlon and I tell him, like, this river is not deep, but like we can get through this river pretty easily. But the guide was looking at this river. He's like, no, we can't go through. It's raging. We're going to get into trouble. I was like, I'm pretty sure I can walk through that river. So I tell the guy, can I just walk through and I'll show you how deep it is? He's like, no, 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 no. And I was like, there's no crocodiles here, so we should be fine. He's like, no, no, we have to wait to get down. So I tell him, okay, we'll just go and put a rock or a marker at the edge of the water so that we can see where it recedes to. And like 20, 30 minutes go past, and like we're having a big laugh in the back of the vehicle. At this stage, like all you can do is laugh and just make it a fun adventure. And like 30 minutes go past, and he walks past us to the back of the vehicle, and I can hear him opening up the back of the vehicle. And I look at Marlon and I was like, if this guy takes out like wellies or something and he walks through that river, I might just lose it. And true as Bob, here he comes out with some wellies. No, no, I'm just going to go and check the water. I'm like, oh my goodness. Now we're sitting and we're watching this, and Marlon and I look at each other and we're like, if this river is ankle deep, like, I mean, it's going to be the laugh of a century. What happens? Ankle deep water. Anyway, we had a good laugh. Cross the river, get to camp at like, I don't know, 11 o'clock at night. Um, and to bed, wake up in the morning, met the guests, and it was all happy days. We only missed like 24 hours of the trip. But yeah, what an adventure to get to Ndutu. Anyway, so Ndutu, like I mentioned earlier, we go there specifically for the calving season, which is part of the migration as we all the wildebeest give birth. And there's a high, high level of predation. And we were incredibly lucky. Like, we spent the first day with this young male leopard on the open plains of the short grass plains in Ndutu, and with very limited vehicle movement. At most, we were 3 vehicles with that leopard, and we had incredible sighting of him on 4 different occasions. I think he kind of moved in an area where we actually found him like 3 days in a row. And the one day he was up in a tree, and there was a pride of lions that came walking towards him, and he stayed in the tree, and the cubs were like clawing on the tree below him. And it was just an incredible moment. And the guest got some unreal photos of that scene, of that leopard going up the tree and the leopard coming walking towards the vehicle. Like, we had it's just such an amazing scene to see a leopard in. Like, you don't necessarily think about leopards when you go to East Africa, especially the short grass plains, because there's not a lot of cover in the specific area. There is a wooded area, a woodland area in Ndutu where you do find leopards. But in this space, it was just this open grass plains, totally exposed, and it went up this one tree. And then we saw it again the next day. It was feeding on a francolin, I think, that it found, and then there was this little drainage line, and we followed him in and out of the drainage line for a number of minutes, probably about a good 40, 50 minutes we spent with him, and just incredible photographic opportunities for the guests. And it was really a special, special moment. And then we saw another male leopard up in the woodlands area in a tree, very kind of focused, very like looking out for something. I think there was a herd of wildebeest moving through the area up on the crest. That sighting got a little bit busy, and we just decided, look, we've had an amazing time with this animal. We were there like one of the first vehicles, and when there was like 4 or 5 vehicles, we decided to leave. So Ndutu can be busy. It can really be busy, but it's not as bad as if you know what to do, where to go, and just avoid some of the chaos that can happen in that area. So yes, Ndutu can be busy, but it's really all about how you manage it. And if you know the area well enough and you've got the right local guides, you can go in the complete opposite direction to where the traffic is and go and find your own animals. And that's exactly what we did. And we had amazing time. So when it came to lions, we had a number of different sightings. We had two male lions roaring right in front of camp. So we stayed at a camp called Nasikia, which is a mobile migration camp. And this camp moves with the migration. So it's in the calving season area, and then it moves on to kind of the central area and then north towards where the river crossings are. And the new location of Nasikia camp is very close to kind of this marsh area, which is probably about 500 meters in front of the camp. And these two big male lions were just there for like 5-6 days, just roaring every night, walking past camp, roaring, and you can just hear them moving. It's just incredible. The sounds that you hear at night in those mobile camps, and with the lions specifically that were there, was just really amazing. And we had hyenas a couple of nights in a row as well. And the kind of immersive experience at camp is really special. So we had a really cool location where the camp was, and very easily accessible to different areas. We could have just popped down into the marshes, and there you've got good opportunity for serval. We saw one serval there, and you go up onto the crest through the woodland area, which is great for leopard, and then you go into the short grass plains, obviously for cheetah, hyena, and the big herds. And we had great herds come through the area that we were in. We spent a couple of days really going quite far out to try and see if we can find, those mega herds, which we were fortunate to see. And it's quite interesting. I mean, you drive on those plains, in those short grass plains of Ndutu and the Serengeti, and it's just, you can almost see the curvature of the earth. It's just nothing. It's just like landscape as far as your eye can see. And then when you see the herd, you like far in the furthest horizon, you just see this black stripe like on the horizon, and you like look through the binoculars, you're like, there they are. And it's just this black stripe of just as far as your eye can see from right to left on the horizon. And we managed to find the herds, and it was amazing to watch this herd of wildebeest just moving. And it's just keeps going. A lot of Thompsons and Grant's gazelle within the herd, and zebras. And within the herd, we often saw a lot of hyena activity. So we actually had some really amazing hyena activity around carcasses. We actually saw a hyena hunt as well. A lot of people will tell you they only scavenge, but hyenas are actually one of the most successful hunters in Africa. The success rates are very high, but they do scavenge more often than what they actually hunt. And we actually saw a hyena chase after a wildebeest calf. Like, it just went, and it ran for probably, I would say, 10 minutes or so, and the calf got away. It was incredible to see, and the endurance of that calf was probably the most impressed thing that I've seen that whole trip. It was really incredible to watch how a week-old calf just goes. It obviously got separated from the herd, and it just ran for miles. Literally, I'm not even joking, miles. And this hyena was like on it, and then the hyena would gain ground, and then lose ground. And eventually the hyena gave up, and the calf kept going. Whether or not that calf made it because it ran away from the herd, probably debatable. But incredible to see. So really great hyena activity. We saw a number of carcasses where the hyenas were feeding. We had multiple moments where we had white-backed vultures and Ruppel's griffin or Ruppel's vultures on the same carcass. And those Ruppel's vultures are massive. They're like almost, I almost want to say twice the size of a white-backed vulture. It's a really big bird. And they're just dominating the carcass, and hyenas all over the show. It was really amazing to see. And then, obviously being down there, the one big thing you always try to achieve is to try and see if you can find cheetah. And if you're lucky enough and you spend enough time with the right animal, there's a good chance that you will see them hunt. Now, we saw cheetahs on probably 4 different occasions. On all of the occasions, the photographic opportunities were incredible. Because of that vast openness, you get them doing some amazing things, either walking, great sunlight, clear backgrounds, and then they maybe go onto a termite mound, or they jump onto a fallen over tree. So really photographically, the cheetahs are great, but you really have to spend time with them to see them hunt. And the one day we found these 2 males, and we sat with them for 6 hours. Now, we had a couple of times where we had to make the call and we need to decide like, how are you guys doing? Do you want to leave? Do you want to come back? We always have packed lunches because we know that we are far away from camp. And on this day, we just said, look, let's stick it out. Let's wait. Let's just wait it out. We're only going to be going back to camp and sit and wait there. So let's just sit here, wait it out. Let's see. There's wildebeest all around us. These cheetahs are lying down now because it's in the middle of the day. And we were with them from about, I would say it was about maybe 10 o'clock in the morning. And only around 4 o'clock, I think it was, they started hunting. And they got up and they identified an individual, and it was within 5 to 10 minutes they started stalking. And it was amazing to sit and watch these two male cheetahs just isolate an individual and go for it. And they were walking, and the wildebeest are behind them. The wildebeest are running around, but these cheetahs just kept on moving away because they knew they had an individual that they were looking to go for. Cheetahs pre-select prey quite often. They don't do it at random. And these cheetahs were walking, selected an individual, and they just dropped the gear and off they went, full tilt, both males on top of this cheetah. It was raining. It was very difficult photographic conditions, but doable. And guests got some amazing photographs. We got some amazing video footage of the hunt, and these two cheetahs bringing it down, and then the one male jumping off and chasing the rest of the wildebeest off and back on this cheetah again. It was just an incredible end to an unbelievable story. And after that, we kind of headed back and sat around a fire, enjoyed a drink, and celebrated the day. So we spent a full 5 days in Ndutu, and then on one of our days, we went to look for a very iconic thing to look for when you're in Ndutu, and that is tree climbing lions. There's a pride called the Masek Pride, which is close to one of the lakes, and we spent 2 days kind of looking for them, going through the area. The one day it was just too busy, and we decided we're not even going to try, and we went out the following morning first thing to get to those lions, and we got there and we found them in the tree. We had 3 lions in the trees, and the rest of the pride were already down, and it was just an amazing to see. It's not like just a normal little tree. It is like a full-on big acacia tree. Big lioness in the top of the tree, a cub on the edge there, another cub on the edge of the tree there, and we watched them come down. It's really, really special to see that and to photograph that. And the photographic opportunities in that sighting again was amazing. You think about it, photographing a leopard coming up and down a tree. That is what you do with this lion. So it was incredible to see. The guests got some amazing shots. And again, when we were with those lions, it wasn't that busy. Not any busier than it would be on a private concession in South Africa. I think we were 3 vehicles around that tree. Then we moved out, gave some other people an opportunity, but I think we spent 20 minutes, 25 minutes at that tree until they came down, and then just followed them for a little bit and left. So I think the important thing about Ndutu that I realized was, one, it's busy, but it's not as bad as if you know how to manage it and know where to go. Then you can really get around it. So don't let that deter you. Just make sure that when you do go, that if you go with us, obviously we know how to avoid the chaos and create an experience that is perfect for photographers and any other guests that want to go there. Photographically, the opportunities are endless. Open plains, big herds of wildebeest, cheetahs hunting, hyenas out there, lions all over, lions hunting wildebeest, Masek pride climbing trees, leopards, yes, in the woodlands is probably your best bet, and then serval as well. So in 5 days, you've got so many options to photograph animals. It is really like there's never a moment where you're not going to get the opportunity to add an incredible photograph to your portfolio. And then we actually one day we went to an area called Hidden Valley, which is very far from camp, but it's a beautiful depression with some watering holes, and we came across a herd of thousands and thousands of zebra. It was an amazing scene. I completely forgot about that. Just quickly touch on that. Just this as far as your eye can see zebras. It's a very mesmerizing thing to see that thing they say, a dazzle of zebra. It is really true. It does have a dazzling effect on you,
See how deep they're
and
going in there.
it is a pretty amazing special experience to see that amount of zebras. And then subsequently to that, we also had this big male lion, like right on the ridge, just looking down over this big herd of zebra. So again, the opportunities for photographs in areas like that is great. Doing some slow shutter panning shots over the herds of wildebeest, or doing the zebra, or doing some panoramic shots of those. The photographs the guest got of that scene is unreal. One of the guests sent me a photo of a print that he's doing of a slow shutter panning shot of a zebra in between like thousands of zebras. It's so beautiful. So photographically, Ndutu is 100% a destination that you should visit. And again, if it's done correctly, the amount of vehicles should not be a problem. And yeah, so if you are looking to go to Ndutu, if you want to go and visit that area, if you want to go for the carving season in February, let me know. We are going back there. I'm there for 2 weeks in February next week. I'm going on a private photographic safari with the family first, and then I'm joining again Marlon in Ndutu for our annual kind of Ndutu Serengeti photographic workshop safari. So if you are looking to join me on a photographic safari in Ndutu, get in touch. I'll put a link down in the description. If you want to join myself and Marlon on our scheduled photographic safari to Ndutu and Namiri Plains in the Serengeti, get in touch with us. And yeah, we're going to have an amazing time. I can't wait to go back in February for the migration wildebeest carving season. And in saying that, that's the end of a quick discussion on Ndutu. And I hope you guys enjoyed this chat. Part 2, I'm going to be talking about the Serengeti and Namiri Plains. So stay tuned for that in the next episode. But until then, I will see you all out in the field. Cheers.